Welcome back, adventurer. This week's creatures have been described as a giant snow dog that's scared of its own name, the world champion of hide and seek, and a cat dragon that might be royalty. So come, pull up a stool at Creature Tavern. Let me ask you, adventurer, are you a fan of dogs? What about giant hairless dogs? If you are, then you're in luck, as our first creature is the Qiqirn. It's a mysterious beast from Inuit folklore, described as a large, some say spectral, others say genuine flesh dog-like creature that roams the icy wilderness of the Arctic. Unlike ordinary dogs, wolves, just canines in general, the Qiqirn has a unique and unsettling appearance. Like I mentioned earlier, this big dog is hairless, with only patches of fur around its feet, mouth, and the tips of its ears and tail. This unnatural baldness gives it a ghostly, almost skeletal look. But don't be fooled. Although the creature sounds like an adorable skinny mustached pooch, it's most definitely deadly. So you're going to have to work real hard not to pet this particular puppy. Some accounts even claim its skin is almost translucent, with a sickly, unnatural hue that enhances its eerie presence. The Inuit people who have passed down stories of the Qiqirn believe that it may not merely be a meat beast, but a spiritual creature as well, possibly of the earth. The legend of the Qiqirn is thought to be a warning of the dangers that lurk in the tundra, particularly for those who travel alone, far from home. And to make things even weirder, there are even a few accounts that claim the Qiqirn is toothless, with possibly 6 or even 8 pairs of legs. I even had one guy come through here who swears by the gods that he once saw a Qiqirn with 2 heads. I would have believed him too, but not long after that we had a lady come by, asking about her sled dogs. Apparently a couple had gotten tangled in the reins and ran off. So make of that what you will, adventurer. The Qiqirn is said to inhabit the frigid, desolate expanses of the Arctic, particularly around Baffin Islands and other remote northern territories of Canada, Greenland and Alaska. Unlike wolves, which like to live in packs, the Qiqirn is a solitary wanderer, preferring vast empty tundras and frozen coastlines. It's rarely seen near villages, though there have been some folks that say they've seen one, lurking just beyond the reach of firelight, watching from the fringes. These folks never quite get close enough to see more than the shadows clinging to its skeletal form. Some adventurers have claimed to find massive, oddly shaped paw prints in the fresh snow, leading off into the wilderness, but never showing a return path, as if the creature simply vanished. In the oral traditions of the Inuit, there are warnings that the Qiqirn is most often encountered during long, treacherous journeys across the ice. Explorers who travel alone are said to be more vulnerable to its presence, as it thrives in isolation. Some believe that it is drawn to the scent of fear or exhaustion, appearing when travellers are at their weakest, shrouding them in dread and confusion. Now, despite its unsettling appearance, the Qiqirn is not considered a physically aggressive creature. In fact, most of the people I've spoken to who've managed to track down or encountered the creature say they're highly skittish and wary of humans, often fleeing at the first sight of being noticed. However, the Qiqirn has an incredibly powerful weapon, something so powerful that you'll be incapacitated even before you've laid eyes on the creature. Its aura. I've heard from parties of adventurers who've encountered it that speak of an overwhelming creeping paralysis that spreads through the body, causing uncontrollable seizures and convulsions. Dogs in particular are said to be extremely sensitive to the Qiqirn, often collapsing when one is near. Now, although they aren't many, some folk say the Qiqirn will actively seek out lone travellers, stalking them through the night or while hidden by a blizzard. But it seems like the creature's intention was to simply scare. The folks I spoke to say that they kept seeing the Qiqirn's prints in the snow, or figure in a break in the weather. Apparently it didn't even get close enough to paralyse them, but there was one man, sat just over there, in the corner. He says the Qiqirn attacked his brother one winter, immediately fatal too. So bear that in mind. I'm not sure what triggers such vicious outbursts, but it seems like once you've angered the beast, better make good with your gods. The Qiqirn is an unpredictable, supernatural power dog. If encountered, follow these guidelines to ensure your safety. Don't panic. Although there's no clear evidence to show that staying calm helps, this is a dog, and a giant one at that. So if you're not yet caught up in its paralysis, then move your hand slowly to your weapon and move back away. You could also call its name. Qiqirn. That simple word is said to drive it away. This method has been passed down for generations and remains the best known defense against this dog. This one's pretty obvious, but just avoid travelling alone. As mentioned, the Qiqirn preys on isolation, making solo travellers far more vulnerable to its influence. Also, if you happen to know an Angakuk, that will be a huge help. These people are said to be intellectual, spiritual figures, similar to a medicine man. And to a Qiqirn, these might as well be the boogeyman. If you've got a dog on your party, keep an eye on them. If they start to behave strangely, whimpering, cowering, or, and this is a big giveaway, suffering sudden convulsions, be on high alert. The Qiqirn is close. It could be passing by, unaware that you're even there, or it could be stalking you. Admittedly, this next tip is going to sound odd, I know, but hear me out. The Qiqirn is said to wander before important events, so next time you're told to attend an important meeting or dinner, be on the lookout for a giant, hairless dog. Now get yourself another drink. There'll be none of this empty pint business in my tavern, adventurer. It's me again, my dear listener, the Tavern Man. Thanks for listening to episode 3 of Creature Tavern, and I hope you're enjoying your stay here today. I think you know what I'm going to say. Posting about the show using the hashtag Creature Tavern on X or Blue Sky will put you in for a chance of being immortalised as a character on the show. Maybe you'll be a insert NPC title? Who insert NPC title's behaviour? Or maybe a insert another NPC title whose insert another NPC title's behaviour. Either way, your name will go down in the annals of audio history. And while I'm asking for favours, it would really help if you could tell a friend, family member or foe about the show. Keeping this tavern going with all these creatures around ain't cheap. And as you know, we've got a big old zero for advertising. So word of mouth is really all we have to go on. Now that's it for this break, folks. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the tavern. Welcome back, adventurer. Had your drink topped up? Good. You'll need it for this next creature. Our second tale is of the Hidebehind from American folklore, specifically from the lumberjack community. It seems the Hidebehind may have a particular fondness for flannel. Stories of this elusive creature were widely shared among loggers, hunters and frontiersmen, especially in the dense forests of the northeastern and Pacific Northwest. You can probably tell from the name that this creature is an expert at hide and seek, so there are no definitive eyewitness accounts as to its true form, and much of its appearance is pieced together from fleeting glimpses, shadows and fearful speculation. Some accounts say the Hidebehind is a wraith-like creature, vaguely humanoid with a tall, slender frame, making it easy for the creature to hide. They also say it's anywhere from 5 to 8 foot tall. Other folks say the Hidebehind looks more like a large, powerful bear that walks upright, but where both parties agree is that the creature is cloaked in a thick black fur from head to toe. This jet black coat essentially makes the Hidebehind invisible when under the cover of night. The fur is said to be so thick that it consumes what little light reflects off the moon, and curiously, because of this thick fur, it's almost impossible to tell the Hidebehind's front from its back. Usually a creature's face would be the giveaway, but the Hidebehind's is hidden under its fur, if it has one at all. The only way to tell which way a Hidebehind's facing, if you're lucky enough to see one at all, is by its limbs. Loggers who've glimpsed the creature say it has 2 short arms poking out of its torso, with long, razor-sharp bear claws fixed to the end. It's also been described as having a tail resembling a sheepdog's, with its legs poking out from the fur as well. So imagine a giant cousin it, with bear claws and a dog's tail. Honestly, it doesn't sound too scary to me. Well, except for the bear claws maybe. The Hidebehind is said to infest the deepest, most lightless recesses of North America's forests. It also thrives in the Great Lakes region, the Appalachian Mountains, the Pacific Northwest, and the ancient brooding woodlands of New England, though there's no telling where it might be lurking at any given time. Unsurprisingly, the Hidebehind doesn't like to reveal itself in open spaces, nor does it make its presence known until it's good and ready. It's a creature of the trees, yet it oddly never seems to climb them. At least, I'm not yet to hear from a witness that says otherwise. Instead, it moves through the trunks, like a shadow slipping between cracks. Always there, always just out of sight. The towering pines, oaks and redwoods of North America serve as both its hunting ground and its camouflage, allowing it to move unseen, no matter how many times you turn. No matter how fast you whip round, heart pounding in your ears, it doesn't matter. If you're 100 miles deep in the Montana wilderness, or just a few feet past the tree line, if you're in the woods, the Hidebehind is watching. So keep your ears peeled, but not for footsteps, not for growls, but for nothing at all. So what happens if you find yourself in a Hidebehind's woods? Well, unfortunately, this creature is an active predator, and its prey seems to be humans. I honestly couldn't find any record or person who had proof that it eats anything else, so you're definitely on the menu. And unfortunately, I've only got more bad news. So you're in the woods, you're certain a Hidebehind's stalking you, so you spin round, only to see a blur quickly shrink behind a far off tree. And you think to yourself, fine, you want to play? I'll just sit right here and stare. Let's see how camera shy you really are. Well, the Hidebehind is extremely patient. In fact, it's one of its best qualities. Have you heard the phrase, good things come to those who wait? Well, the Hidebehind already has all the good things. And not only that, it's also capable of fasting. For years. That's what makes it a master of hide and seek. And why you'd most definitely lose this game of Qiqirn. All it takes is for your eyelids to drop, just a little, for only a second, and snap. That blur just got a little closer. No matter how many pairs of eyes scan the woods, the Hidebehind is always just out of sight, slipping with ease from tree to rock to right behind you. Folk that have encountered this creature say it moves with impossible speed and precision, as if phasing through the shadows rather than merely stepping into them. Some folks even claim it can flatten its body, impossibly thin, to press against the tree trunks. The Hidebehind isn't a creature of rash, clumsy attacks. It may resemble a bear on a bad hair day, but it doesn't act like one. It doesn't need to chase its prey in the way a wolf or mountain lion might. Instead, it prefers this slow, torturous game, letting fear and paranoia do most of the work. I have heard whispers that this beast can stalk its prey for hours, even days, waiting for the perfect moment. And the only sign of its presence is the unshakable sensation of being watched. You know the feeling, don't you? Like a presence on the back of your skull. Once the Hidebehind's close enough, it'll be too late. Its attacks are sudden, violent, and absolute. It doesn't give its prey a chance to scream. One moment its victim's alive, breathing, pulse racing, and the next they're gone. If you happen to be the lucky one in your party, you may hear a hiss like that of a viper, or if you're to believe the more unsettling accounts, a terrifying laugh. It's said to be so incredibly chilling that you'll be petrified with fear long before the Hidebehind lays a single claw on you. And this will come as no shock to you, adventurer, but those party members who vanish, yeah, they're rarely found. The lucky few who stumble across a Hidebehind's kill often describe their remains as torn apart. Disemboweled was the popular word. This is because the creature's favourite food is, of course, human intestines. I couldn't confirm whether the Hidebehind prefers the small or the large. Let's just assume they're not picky. I've even had folk claim the Hidebehind drags its prey back to its hidden lair, deep in the forest. A place so remote and untouched that no human has ever set foot there and returned. So what do you do if you find yourself in the woods and you think a Hidebehind's got your stomach on the menu? Firstly, this is a pretty easy one. Just travel in the day. Every account I came across said the Hidebehind is a nocturnal creature. So if you can't go over it, you can't go under it, and you've got to go through it, then travel by daylight. Torches and lanterns may help you feel safe, but all they're really doing is highlighting your position to the creature. And much like the Qiqirn, it's best to travel in a party when venturing through Hidebehind territory. The only difference being this creature doesn't spook if it sees a gang of adventurers. This tip's more about being faster than your slowest party member. Or I suppose you could travel in a circle, but all it takes is for one person to blink, then you'll hear that terrifying laugh and darkness. Because you'll be dead, the darkness bit. Now I swear I'm not trying to push product on you here, adventurer, but the legends say, keep a drink handy. That's right. Mead, beer, cider, spirits, whatever alcohol you can, bring it and drink it. Heck, pour over yourself. Turns out the Hidebehind is a lifetime participant in Dry January, and because of this, even the faintest whiff of the sauce is said to drive the creature away. Or maybe that's just what the lumberjack said to get away with drinking on the job. Either way, I'd say it's worth a shot. By the way, that pint you had looked proper good. Didn't even know we served that. Do you mind getting me one, adventurer? I'll get the next round, promise. Welcome back to the break room, my dear listener. No beasties here, just a vast, empty void. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how I got here myself. Maybe subscribing will help me back to the tavern. Hey, you never know. Now, I'm not sure how you wouldn't already know this, seeing as you're listening, but did you know that you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere radio rodents make their homes? Just search for Creature Tavern. And you're never going to believe this, I've got another quest for you. Well, not so much a quest this time as a favour. You see, I've heard rumours that people are saying no one's coming to me tavern. Mind proving them wrong with a review for your humble tavernkeeper? With all that out of the way, we've reached the end of this break. I promise no more interruptions today. So once again, sit back, relax, and enjoy the next creature. Thanks again for listening. Adventurer, cheers for the pint. I'd say that's worthy of hearing our last creature for the week. The Tatzelwurm, from Alpine folklore. The Tatzelwurm goes by many names. You may have heard it as the Stolen Worm, Stoleworm, Bergstutzen, Springworm, Arasis, or Dragon of the Mine. This legendary creature is said to inhabit the remote Alpine regions of Austria, Bavaria, Switzerland, France, and northern Italy. Fun fact, the name Tatzelwurm roughly translates to clawed worm in German, and Bergstutzen roughly translates to mountain stump in Austrian, which means today you're going to learn all about the grand majesty that is the terrifying clawed mountain stump. Descriptions of the Tatzelwurm are as varied as the landscape of the Alps themselves. I've heard from folks claiming this cat dragon can grow anywhere from 1 to 7 foot in length. In most tales, its body is said to take the form of a blackish grey cylinder covered in scales. Although some of my more well-spoken regulars simply said the Tatzelwurm is scaled like a reptile and as thick as a man's leg. However, each time they pointed to a different man's leg, so I've got no idea on the scale. Affixed to the underbelly of this scaly cigar are its signature 2 forelegs, tipped with claws. Stubby and thick. However, there are some reports that say the Tatzelwurm has a further 2 legs. Some say 6. And more than a few of my patrons claim the Tatzelwurm has as many legs as a centipede. As well as scales, the Tatzelwurm is said to have boar-like bristles that run down its back. But my favourite feature of the Tatzelwurm has to be its wide, furry cat head. And that's it. Just your classic, run-of-the-mill cat head. Obviously, this is where it gets the name cat dragon. People who've met the creature say that its big, round, wide eyes glow bright with an intense stare, which, if you ask me, is honestly no different from any normal cat. I bet you're thinking to yourself, this Tatzelwurm creature sounds amazing. It can't possibly get any better. Well, what if I told you I've run my peepers across more than one report that claims the Tatzelwurm comes in 2 distinct variants. There's the black, grey-scale version, we've already gone over that one, and then there's the much rarer white-scale Tatzelwurm that's known for wearing, and get this, a tiny crown. So does that make the Tatzelwurm king of the cats, or king of the snakes, or reptiles, Or is this monarch even recognised? All these questions and more I'll pass on to you, adventurer. Once you find them out, let me know. You'll get a pint on the house. So to find the Tatzelwurm, you'll have to know where it lives. Well, it's primarily associated with the rugged and isolated regions of the European Alps. It's often said by locals to inhabit areas that provide both seclusion and natural cover, but that are still close enough to small human settlements like villages or towns. The Tatzelwurm has a particular fondness for caves and crevices. Basically, it likes to be cuddled by the earth, so anywhere this slippery catworm can wriggle itself into will work. Unlike your typical dragon, the Tatzelwurm doesn't hoard gold, jewels, or any such riches. It's quite a modest fairy worm, so any caves capable to accommodate such wealth should be avoided. Your best bet in tracking one of these down is to find somewhere high up in the mountains. The Tatzelwurm isn't the most social creature, even with its own kind. In fact, I think in all my research, I only uncovered one account of 2 Tatzelwurms being spotted together, and another account of a single Tatzelwurm carrying its young. About 10 baby catworms, I think. So the higher you go, the better. But be careful, the rocky terrain of the Alps could mark your end before you even lay eyes on the mysterious king catworm. It's said the Tatzelwurm, like most cats, enjoys a spot of sun, as they're quite active in the summer. Many accounts say the creature will lay out, soaking up the sun, and once winter arrives, they'll hide away. I also came across 1 or 2 accounts that suggested the Tatzelwurm is a big fan of the humidity, often spotted out before a violent storm. So what'll happen if you encounter one of these? Well, I've heard from some that say the Tatzelwurm prefers to remain away, out of sight from humans. Others say it's a vicious creature, willing to attack humans and livestock. And even more, that argue the creature's harmless, until it's threatened. In all honesty, adventurer, the Tatzelwurm appears to have the same mannerisms as your common house cat. Except without the want for a head or belly scratch, that is. Although I haven't seen anything or heard from anyone to prove that. Maybe that could be another quest for you. So should you stumble upon one of the creatures and, it's in a particularly bad mood today, what can you expect? First comes the sound. A threatened Tatzelwurm will let out a loud hiss or a whistle. I heard from one pair of adventurers that said it's more like a shriek. It's not going to incapacitate you, but it's not going to be fun. If you begin to slowly step away from the creature, be prepared to run, as the Tatzelwurm is said to have one hell of a leap. Considering some folk claim the creature has no legs, this is an impressive feat. In order to close a gap, the Tatzelwurm has been recorded leaping as far as 9 foot towards any human, and for a 7-foot long cat, that's incredibly agile. This next bit's a bit patchy. I was really only able to get this from one patron. He claims the creature will inflate its neck, likely as a form of intimidation, but everyone else I spoke to couldn't back this up. So personally, I just wouldn't get close enough to one of these to find out. The razor-sharp teeth are said to be vicious enough to kill with a single bite, so bear that in mind before you go poking around this feline snake's neck. I know it's going to be hard, adventurer, but you must not give this darling furry worm a neck scratch. It will consider you a threat, and it will bite your hand clean off. But the most dangerous aspect of the Tatzelwurm is its breath. It's said to exhale a nauseating gas. Should you find yourself suffocated by this pernicious fog, you'll not have long to escape. First, you'll suffer a headache. If you weren't looking this fuzzy snake in the eyes, you'd swear this was simply due to the altitude. But then comes the dizziness. See that drink you got? Imagine you just necked 6 more, at sea, and you'll have some idea of what's in store. After this comes the vomiting. Honestly, that one's to be expected. If you feel the world tilt, your stomach's going to have something to say about it. And after that, after all that, death. I'm sure all of this is nothing for a well-trained adventurer like yourself. I bet you'll easily evade all these attacks. Well, if you do, then be careful of its final, hidden ability. Should you manage to land a strike with that lovely sword of yours, then be careful not to sheath it, as it'll likely be coated in the Tatzelwurm's green, acid blood. I've seen nothing to suggest that this blood will melt your weapon, but I've heard many reports of it easily melting human flesh. See that man over there? The one with the limp? He encountered a Tatzelwurm last summer. Said he pierced the creature's scales with his dagger, managed to send it running scared, but the blood shot out, covered his hand and leg. I take that story with a pinch of salt though. Lots of folks here reckon the scales are impenetrable, so you'll have to find that one out for yourself. Now if you don't fancy lugging all your gear up the mountains to pet this king caterpillar cat, then simply sit tight at your local dairy farm. The Tatzelwurm has quite the appetite for unpasteurised milk. It has such an insatiable craving for this that it will often sneak into fields of pasturing cows and steal their fill directly from the cow's udder. Maybe if you catch one with an udder in its mouth, you won't need to worry about that ripe cat breath. Just careful of the acid. As I'm sure you've gathered, encountering a Tatzelwurm is fairly rare, but perilous when it happens. So to enhance your safety during such an encounter, consider the following. Keep your distance. If you're just passing through Tatzelwurm land, then give anywhere you think one may reside a wide berth. If you're actively seeking the creature out, then bring a long weapon, like a polearm. This way you can avoid its claws, teeth, and acid blood. It also doesn't hurt to bring extra cloth. As I mentioned, the most dangerous part about your encounter will definitely be the Tatzelwurm's breath. So consider bringing some extra rags soaked in a floral oil. This should delay the effects, and it might just give you a few extra seconds to retreat, should you be exposed to the deadly gas. And lastly, make sure you've got a very special party member with you. The Tatzelwurm has an oddly specific fear, considering it's part cat, roosters. Specifically, white roosters. So make sure to bring at least one of these with you. Fix one to your belt. Or I guess you could even put one on the lead. These can be used to ward off the creature. Many dairy farmers told me about this little trick. And with that, we're finished with our last creature for the week. We've learned that some giant snow dogs are best admired from afar. To make sure your flask's always full of something strong. And to bring at least one rooster if you're exploring the Alps. Now that bell means it's last call here at Creature Tavern, so grab yourself one more drink for the road, and until next time, tread carefully, adventurer. You never know when you might wander into the weird